Hey everybody, welcome back to another Dice Tower review. My name is Zeke Garcia.
I'm Mike Delisio.
Today we're going to be taking a look at Dice Throne Santa versus Krampus right here. A little holiday special that they had from Roxley Games with a head-to-head set of their Dice Throne system. Adding a couple of characters, these characters, that you can mix and match with the other stuff if you want to, but they are, feels to me, very much meant to play out of the box, be a celebration of the season, and in fact it was sort of a limited, time window sort of thing. They kickstarted it, you'll get it by the holidays, which indeed they delivered, and so we're going to be taking a look at these two fairly straightforward characters and telling you what we think of them. Before I do that, of course, let me go ahead and show you a little bit of what the characters look like on the table. So here I'm going to be taking a look at the two characters independently. We're going to start, of course, with Santa Claus. Santa over here has got two different status effects, the tokens. We have cheer at the top. He can spend one of those to re-roll a die, or he can spend three to change a die to a 6. And then eggnog over here with a stack limit of 5. Spend 3 of these at once to roll a die and then do some healing, ideally. And gaining CP, drawing a card. So Santa's going to be able to do some solid amounts of healing because of this eggnog. And then some cards will give him some of that, of course, as well. We've got the breakdown over here. Rosy Cheeks here gives you cheer plus extra damage per cheer. This one's going to give you 2 cheer and 3 eggnog, and then it's undefendable damage over there. Most of them are going to give you some of that. And then he's got a solid defense ability here, which doesn't stop any damage, but again, is going to give you eggnog and cheer. Cheer's a little bit harder to get on that roll there, and generally it is harder to get, but it's a great modifier. And then we've got a few cards we'll take a look at. One final thing, actually, I want to mention is the ultimate here, Comfort and Joy, gives you 4 eggnog, deals 10 undefendable damage, and then you immediately target the same opponent with an additional offensive roll phase. So you get to go twice. Very strong stuff, very scary stuff. And like I said, Santa's going to be able to stay alive for a while if they can manage to keep doing these healing abilities. A couple of cards we'll take a look at. Nogtastic there, gain 5 eggnog on that one. We've got here, White Elephant Gift is neat. You put a cheer and 3 eggnog in one of your hands and nothing in the other. You offer them to your opponent. They pick one. If they pick the empty one, you keep all this stuff. If they keep the one where you put those things, well, nothing happens. They don't get it, but you don't get it either. So that's fun. We've got Rudolph here, which is is an attack modifier that deals a damage per cheer you've got. It is a stack limit of 3, so it's not that much, but that's neat. And then one more I'll show you is this Reindeer Games upgrade, because it gives you a new ability at the bottom here. So Reindeer Games over here with the large straight, but then you also have Mistletoe here, where 2 chosen players gain cheer, and then you deal 2 undefendable damage. Sometimes you do end up giving, cheer to to an opponent in this game, and that's just, it ties thematically to what's going on. You are Santa Claus, after all. You have to give away a little joy. You do some holly jolly. So there you go. That is Santa Claus. Let's take a look at his evil foe. Krampus's main gimmick is having a deck of companions, as you can see over here. And this is going to be a small deck of cards that you shuffle up and it sits off to the side. You begin with one of these, and then many abilities are going to give you more of these companions. And they have abilities you can trigger as usually additions to something you are doing. You activate them, they do whatever you're doing, and then they go away. When you burn through the deck, you will cycle it. Many of your cards are also going to enhance these if you happen to trigger one. So you've got Bitey and Sargy and Squishy, of course, Wormy, Dotty, and you saw Sproingy already. So again, shuffle this up, put it somewhere, give yourself one. Hey, all right, I got Squishy. And Squishy's going to do something for you. Then we've got over here all of his abilities, of course, which again, many of them will be about drawing these rejects. You can have up to 3 of them, and you will be utilizing those ideally to enhance the things you can do. They do small things, but you should be drawing into them, and a little bit, a lot of the time, is going to add up. You've got 2 abilities, Cole here, which has a stack limit of 4. It's a negative status effect, and it basically, if an opponent has 4 of these, next time they would get any combat points, they remove the coal tokens and gain 1 fewer combat points, which oftentimes is the one you would have gained, so you gain nothing. And then gift over here is something you can spend to gain a reject. So again, that's one way in which you can earn these cards. We've got the different abilities over here, going to gain you gifts, draw rejects, inflict coal, combination of those things, distribute 3 coal among opponents, and then deal 2 collateral damage to each opponent per coal that is on their board. Very good stuff there. A few different things like that. They also have deviled eggs over here, the defensive role, which also, just like Santa, does not negate damage. It instead inflicts coal, gets you gifts, and deals damage back if you have rejects. So again, on that face, it's deal 1 undefendable damage per reject. But you don't stop damage coming in. And then some special cards we'll take a look at here from your deck. So we've got, this is a rejection 2, just like the other one I showed you. It gives you, it is draw a reject, or you may activate 1 reject without discarding it, deal 9 damage. The leveled up version of that lets you draw a reject, you may activate 1 without discarding it, so it's not an or, it's both. But then also charcoal surprise down here, much like the one we saw on Santa, gain a gift, inflict coal, and deal 2 undefendable damage. So there we go. We've also got Crusty Krampus over here, where you roll a die, you get 3 gifts on that face. On any other outcome, you draw a card. This is the promo card, by the way, from the Kickstarter, so just be aware of that one. And then over here, Regift, where you can activate a reject and not discard it. So you still perform the activation, but you don't get rid of it, so you get to use it twice. For example, this right here, the activation on Squishy is, when you're being attacked, he will prevent 3 damage. So you might, get lucky with that one and use it twice. And then we've got over here an example of what I was talking about, where you can have one of these rejects, and when you use it, have a special card that enhances that card. So here we've got Dottie, and Dottie's diversion there. So the way this works is Dottie has an activation effect that is an attack modifier. It adds 3 damage to whatever I'm doing. If I play Dottie's diversion with that, then if your opponents are inflicted with at least 2 coal, I gain 2 combat points, and additionally, if they are inflicted with at least 4 coal, I draw a card. So if I do this at the right time, play her, and that's the only time I can play this, I'm going to really reap some great benefits from that. So there you go. That is Krampus and his stack of miscreants. All right, so speaking of dice thrown in general, Mike, a little bit, I believe you have much more experience than I do when it comes to dice thrown itself. I've basically played the Marvel stuff, which I do like, and this. That's it. I haven't played any Season 1, Season 2, re-rolled, whatever that means.
Right.
I don't know any of that stuff.
Okay.
So speaking of that system itself, when we were discussing this just a moment ago, I personally find the system to have the ability to go a little complicated, a little finicky. I think these characters are pretty good at avoiding that.
Yeah, this is the Dice Throne system is probably as close as I get to like kind of that CCG model. And I don't mean in the way that you're collecting, although there's a little bit of that here. It's more in the kind of the keywords and the timing issues and the different types of damage, undefendable, collateral, those types of things. I tend to bounce off those games. This is just on the edge of I still dig it. I do like Dice Throne. But yeah, this feels very similar. So you said you haven't played any of the Season 1, Season 2, but you've played Marvel, so you've played Dice Throne. I mean, between Marvel and this, they're not a huge, change from the core system of the game.
Right.
You've definitely played Dice Throne.
Yeah, and here they give you these 2 characters that are on their, they have a little system in which they tell you complexity.
Yes.
And these are both fairly simple, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Krampus is a little bit, I'd have to look at there, but
I think it was like 2 and 3 or 2 and 4.
2 and 4, maybe, yeah.
But they feel straightforward. We've played both.
Yes.
I certainly would say that Krampus, yes, has a little bit more going on, but it's easily manageable, I thought. I think some of the ones I've played, anyway, from the Marvel set, certainly have more happening, a little more, a couple more finicky things to contend with. So I think it's a good set for someone who just wants a holiday-themed game.
Yeah.
It's a good game for a couple. It's a good game for the family to play, just one-on-one. When the season comes around, we pull this off of the shelf and give it a go, and then it goes back on there until next year. I think it's a good, solidly put together, package for that. As far as the game goes and the balance between these characters and the flavor, which is really what we're mostly talking about here, I think it's very well done.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun.
Yeah, and that was going to be kind of the point that I was going to bring, is that once you understand Dice Throne as a core system, then it becomes, how do you thematically integrate whatever that character is with the mechanisms in the game? And I would actually say it was a little bit harder when you had more of the kind of generic barbarian, elf.
Sure.
You can do, but as they've gotten into more kind of heavily themed with the Marvel characters, that you have some background on how this type of character should play. Yeah. Even with Santa and Krampus, I think they did a very good job of incorporating thematic elements into the game itself, even just through the different types of tokens. Krampus is giving coal to the other player, and Santa's, got eggnog and cheer. And they make some nice thematic sense. The Krampus with their reject cards and how those play out. I really do think they did a nice job of incorporating a nice amount of theme. It feels appropriate to the character that you're playing.
And it's very tongue-in-cheek also. Yeah. It's both. Again, it manages to toe that line between, this is holiday-themed and it's fun and it is vibrant and has that sort of warmth to it, and the titles of the abilities and the in-your-face nature is very funny, and it manages to make for a good package that brings that to the forefront as well. And to be fair, I think this would mix in. It's not the kind of thing I'd like to do, but I think it would mix in just fine if this was your first try at Dice Throne and you were curious about more of it. I think that this would be a fine jumping on point, personally. Or if you are someone who's already been into Dice Throne and you want to enhance it a little bit, I also think this is something I would recommend. Again, I personally don't necessarily want to see a ninja versus Santa, but you might,
Right.
And that could be its own kind of silliness. So, yeah, let's get into some final thoughts and scores here. Where are you coming down on this one, Mike?
So I guess since I've already kind of given some of my impressions about Dice Throne as a system, it's a game that I like quite a bit. I even like the kind of the spin-off cooperative version of Dice Throne Adventures, which, to be clear, if you are playing that with these characters, they do add components that allow you to play this in Dice Throne Adventures, in case you're interested in that as well. I'm looking at this as, is this a novelty? Or is it something that I think fits with the rest of the core system? And I don't feel like it feels like a novelty to me. It feels like as much time, effort, intelligence into the design is in this as is with any of the other characters. It does not feel like, let's just throw out something for the holidays to make people happy. No, these are fully fledged characters that have some nice thematic integration. And so I'm coming at an 8. I think it's a super solid addition to an already favorite game of mine. So I'm happy, very happy that this is not just kind of like a little quick throwaway. It doesn't feel like a promo. It feels like a fully fledged product.
And it's, again, that whole promise of you'll get it by the holidays also sort of, again, in some ways smacks of get it now. It's a holiday promo, like you said, and we're not really putting as much effort into it, and I agree with you. I'm actually rating this higher than I did the Marvel one. Standalone, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. If I owned a lot of it, I perhaps wouldn't think as highly of this on its own, but if I encapsulate this as its own product, as a 1 versus 1 holiday-themed package, 2 fun characters that work well together, that are going to give you a fun experience. I think this is great. I think the Marvel one's very good. It's just a little more sprawling.
Yeah.
There's more highs and more lows in there.
I would agree, yeah.
I think this is solidly contained. Doesn't feel like there's excess here. I very much recommend it. I'm coming in slightly higher on an 8.5. I think this is wonderful. Hopefully it's made available again.
I agree.
Maybe it's a yearly thing for them. They publish it around the end of the year, and because I think it's worth tracking down. I think it's worth having. So an 8.5 from me. That is a seal of excellence, everybody, for Dice Throne Santa v Krampus.
Ooh.
That's going to do it, everybody. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
Now watch out for coal in your stocking. Go get it.